Kia ora, my name is Craig Murray, and you have tuned into the Small Business and Entrepreneur Festival podcast number 18. And we're super lucky to have Wendy Thompson, the founder of Socialites, and we are going to be talking about social media marketing. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Wendy into the stream. Kia ora, Wendy, how are you?
Good, kia ora, how are you?
I am very well. I am calling from, like I always do, in the centre of the North Island, Rotorua. Whereabouts in New Zealand are you?
I'm in Tamaki Makaurau, on Waiheke Island at the moment, which is quite fun.
Waiheke Island, one of my favourite places in the world to go and visit. You're very lucky. Hey, similar to all of our podcasts, I always start with the very same thing. And the first question I always ask is, what was your first ever job? Your first ever job, not your career job, like if you delivered pamphlets or whatever that might have been. And then if you could just roll into your origin story a little bit of how your professional career, how you started Socialites in 2010, and then how you got to where you are now.
Sure, I can totally cram 40 odd years into 2 minutes. Easy.
My 2 minutes.
Well, the fun thing is my first job actually made me really think about it. So I was like, I've worked at like the warehouse and all those sort of jobs throughout the years. But my first job was my dad worked at Guardian Trust, which is a sort of insurance-y banking type company. And back in those days, when I was about 11, we used to do our school holidays, my sister and I and my cousin used to come in and reconcile these massive dollar amounts against like their share funds. So it was just the most mind-numbing job that you've ever done in your entire life, but just literally checking numbers, double checking things. And nowadays you just run a script on a computer and do it in about 10 seconds. But back then it was fantastic because, you're 11 years old and earning, your $5.75 an hour or whatever it was. It was fantastic. So I really enjoyed that actually. And that was kind of very officey and real like 80s office. So you can imagine like screens and particle boards and no open plan. So that was quite fun. And then, over the years, I've always been a marketer. I've always been really creative. And my mum used to tell the stories of, I used to get flyers out of the letterbox and cut them up and rearrange them. So I used to be quite creative in my day. So I we didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't quite finish school because I did have really high grades, but I decided not to do 7th form or year 13 nowadays. And I found this amazing course at Auckland Institute of Technology, now Auckland University of Technology, which was a business degree where you could start halfway through the year. So I did like 1 week of school and then left and went and did this university degree, which was really fun. It was based around business and international marketing. And from there I worked in big ad agencies, had the time of my life, so much fun. Made TV commercials and radio ads and stole the virtues of toilet paper. Like, honestly, we live in a weird place. It's just crazy. Takes a certain type to be a marketer and an advertising person, but loved it. And after I had my first baby, started doing some contracting, which was really fun. And my husband at the time set up a small business, a small physio and Pilates studio. And suddenly I didn't have my $1 million budgets to make TV commercials. Funny that. So, it's just a little place with sort of 3 or 4 physios in Auckland City. And as the marketer, I sort of looked at what else was out there. And at that time, social media was just starting. And back then it was just Facebook. And it was the time when businesses didn't really have their own place yet on Facebook. It was just for people. But you could do a few things. And it was also the time, I don't know if you remember, but you used to be able, like, you weren't allowed to do social media at work. So like all the big companies would like lock it down so you couldn't get onto it. So people started just bringing their phones in, and like, I think every company's given up on that by now. No. But it was very funny. So it was in those days. And I just discovered how incredible social media was for a business. It was incredible because you could it was the first, as a marketer, it was the first one-to-one mass communication. So you're always trying to get conversations going as a marketer. And suddenly I could just see that I could go talk to all our customers and staff and their friends in like one go, and they could all come and talk back to me. But they wouldn't have to come to the studio, wouldn't be ringing them. It was like completely mass, but also completely one-on-one. It was phenomenal. And it was a real community that we were building online. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is the future of marketing. And I was right. So that was lucky.
Right. Yes.
Because at the time everyone thought I was a bit bonkers, but I was like, that's it. So I started a company. My friend suggested the name Socialites, and I was like, oh yeah, it sounds good. And there was no big branding campaign. It was just, here's a name, which we've stuck with for the last 11 years. And since then, it's just been a matter of riding the wave, really. Like our job is just to stay just ahead of what's going on, so we can help businesses navigate, because it is always changing. I think back to what we did then and what we're doing now, and it's, we're working in like 18 different countries at the moment.
Oh, wow.
6 or 7 different languages, about 5 or 6 different social media platforms. We've got 12,000 specialist content creators at Socialites that we have access to and use as we need. Like, it's a really quite different beast to me with a baby on one knee and a laptop, like posting updates live at 6 o'clock, and trying to game algorithms. It's very, very different, and it's still unbelievably effective, and still in some ways better than it was then, and in some ways worse, but it's still, the powerfulness is incredible.
So when you first started in the Pilates and doing the social media for then, what year are we talking now?
So that was 2010.
2010. Okay, yeah. So
actually no, sorry, that would have been 2009. So I sort of did that for about 6 months to a year, and then my friends who are in marketing were like, oh, I've got a company who the board's saying, what's the social media, and can you help out? And I think my business plan was to have 10 clients paying me like $1,200 a month or something. Like, I had this, kind of crazy business plan, which didn't work at all, but it was it was funny. I was like, I kind of worked out I could kind of get a salary of about, sort of $70,000 or $80,000 by, if I had the right number of clients paying the right thing, which, by the way, didn't work, but it was my plan on a page. It was funny.
So then in 2010, Socialites was born, and now you're obviously there's a number of different social platforms. It must be really tricky to try and keep up with them all, and all of them have different sort of marketing tactics to that really work. Like, do you do anything in, this is a random question, in Clubhouse?
Yes, yeah, the audio podcast platform. Yeah.
Is TikTok big for some of your clients?
Yes, TikTok's the biggest for our New Zealand clients. It's definitely where they're all sort of looking or investing in. It's from a marketing or a business point of view, it's where the your millennials and your Gen Z are really heading. It's very cost effective to buy ads on it at the moment, so it's a good place to be. What I love about TikTok is it's exceptionally, I know it's fun. It's a fun platform, so it's quite nice just to have a play. And it really rewards authenticity and creativity. So it's not just putting up a picture and some copy, and you can't just get a normal ad or a billboard. Like, I hate it when people do it, but they do it. They chuck it on Facebook and Instagram. On TikTok, you can't. You have to do it properly and make it for platform. So it's really fun. Do well on TikTok. You're a real content creator, or you're really creative. So the transitions and transition stuff is so much fun. My daughter's really into it. She's always been really great at content creation since she's a little kid, and it's they make it look so easy. I'm terrible at it, but that's okay. It's not but it's nice to know you can be a professional content creator nowadays and make millions of dollars.
100%. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So could you give our audience an overview of how Socialites could potentially help our business grow?
Yeah, well, I suppose the first thing to understand is that every single business has a community of supporters, customers, friends, suppliers, and our job is really to unlock that. So a lot of business owners know they've got this group of people out there that love and support them, and they want to speak back to them and help that grow. And what we do through social media, because social media is the only, as I said, mass one-to-one kind of platform, is we use the social media platform to get that out there. So we start the conversations, we'll build the story, we'll help find the social voice and run it for our clients, because our clients are very good at what they do and we're very good at what we do in terms of understanding the idiosyncrasies of the platforms, because you do need to know the platforms and just really understand how they work, and just really bring through that sort of authenticity. That's what we do. So whether it's helping get Facebook ad campaigns underway, or a really beautiful Instagram feed, or some LinkedIn thought leadership work, or stores set up on like whether you're working on like WeChat or Line or TikTok, finding amazing content creators for your brand, something. And we also do a lot of work in the last couple of years with influencers. Influencers is absolutely huge in social media. So we bought the Social Club, almost a year and a half ago, which is an incredible social media influencer company. And we added that to our stable to really strengthen us in that space as well, which is cool. And that's the one with 12,500 content creators. So it's pretty cool.
So can you explain what the Social Club is? So is it a club where you have a whole bunch of talent that creates and you can just go and ask them to do some work for you?
Pretty much. It's an influencer specialist agency. So they specialize in working with influencers to create campaigns. And how I see the future is, well, and we've been doing it for a while, but this made it a lot easier as a company, is that you actually, like, if you've got you make cookies and you know that your customers are on TikTok, we can find you like a specialist food TikToker to make amazing content, as opposed to someone who, might make radio ads trying to do it. Like, it's a different skill set. So we find that person, or someone who's an amazing travel photographer for Instagram. We'll find that person and match them, and then help them create a campaign, and then put the ads around it and the customs and all the tech stuff that has to happen. The team does their thing. It's quite special.
That's really cool. So let's say if I'm a small business and I'm just looking around my room, looking at pot plants. I've got a pot plant business, and I wanted to jump into TikTok. You would have potentially some influencers that can make some cool sort of creative using pot plants or whatever and reach a new audience.
Immediately, you can imagine on TikTok you'd have that transition of like a seed, then a little one, then a real big one. Like, you'd do something quite fun, wouldn't you? Just add water and sunshine. So totally in my head already. I can see that. And I'd be like, and we'd go through our list and go, okay, that would be Joel from, I don't know, New Plymouth. They're your person. Let's get them signed up because they do something along that line. So we think of it in our team that we have the conductors and the composers in our team. So we come up with the ideas, what we want to do, and then we use the content creators and influencers to kind of bring it to life like the musicians. It's really cool.
Nice, cool.
Yeah.
So the next question I'm going to ask is a question that I ask everybody, and it's just to get a bit of an understanding of what you sort of like. What brand has had the biggest impact on you and why?
It's such a great question, and I love all brands because I'm a marketer, so I found it quite tricky. But there's a couple of things. One, it is local scale. I am really impressed with Catherine Wilson, the shoe designer. The way that she creates a community is exceptional. And for example, one of the things she does is she names her new shoe collections after like her friends and customers. So I was really excited. I got like the Wendy Brogue last year, and I was like, it was so cool. I got a shoe named after me, basically winning at life. And from her point of view, it doesn't cost her anything, but in terms of brand love, I'm going to be loyal to her forever and buy all my shoes from her now. And I was like, that's just so smart, but also just so genuine, because she really feels that everyone is part of her journey, and she uses every way that she can to do it. And it's very, very cool and genuine and awesome. And then on a global scale, I think, because it is a matter of just bringing your community into your story. I've just been rereading Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game recently, again, which I love. It's always a good reminder. And his sort of main point on that is, when you're setting, a company is more than, it's a collection of people, but it's got a bigger purpose and a vision. And it's sort of changing your mindset from trying to beat your competitors and just almost ignoring them. Like, you just follow your own path. And I look at companies like Tesla, who are, how can you not, they're rethinking the entire transportation industry. They're just like, I don't care what everyone else is doing. We're just going to go do this crazy big thing. Or, and that's just powerful and fun and cool. And then, so Tesla, I love. I don't know if you've noticed as well, even with just little things that they do. If you go onto their website and you look at the names of their cars, and it's like the S, then it's the 3, and then it's the X and the Y, and then you look at it and it's like sexy. That is so funny. It's like little things. If you look at their cars, the last names of their cars, little things they do just makes you giggle. And then like Apple's another one in that sort of field where they just do what they do, and they just are very true to themselves. So I like those companies.
Cool. So Catherine Wilson, locally or New Zealand based, Tesla and Apple. Cool.
Apple, easy. So many though. I like so many of them.
So let's move back into Socialites. So you and the team are obviously experts. In fact, you're social media marketer of the year in 2019, 2020 social media agency of the year. What are, since that you guys are experts, what are some common sort of mistakes you see small businesses making in the social media space?
We're the biggest one. I see big businesses and small businesses doing this, by the way, so it's not a small business thing, but it's getting like the intern or the youngest person or the newest person to the company to look after these social media channels. It's bonkers if you think about it. Like, I don't know, like people do it because they think, oh, it's a young person's game, social media, but one, it's not a young person's game anymore, and two, your brand is the most powerful, and your reputation is the most powerful thing you own as a business. And so to go put that in the hands of someone who's young and new is just nuts. Like, absolutely. You'd never I always think, would you put them on the, 6 o'clock news? You wouldn't put them on the 6 o'clock news. Don't have them handling your social media. So either, get an expert or have someone really senior overseeing it down to the detail. It's, things go wrong when you...
Or outsource it. So then I suppose it's important to have a social media marketing plan and a strategic plan to make sure that the intern, or whoever, maybe not the intern, but the person who's managing it actually knows what they're supposed to be doing and has some idea of how to measure the success with it as well.
Yeah, I think you could have a plan or a guideline for them to follow to a point, but then you want to be signing everything off before it goes live. You wouldn't want to be having them answering questions live online either. You'd want to have either well-trained professionals or trained people in your team who are experienced. It's just respectful to it's the respect you owe your community. It's actually not about saying the wrong thing. It's actually just sort of showing it the respect it deserves.
What do you think is a simple tactic that a business could implement in their social media marketing that they're just not doing, that could be super easy to start growing the community a little bit better or bigger? It's
not simple, but there's one surefire way which works really well and every business can do, which is really cool. And that's actually, and it doesn't cost much, it doesn't really cost anything. And that's except for time, and that's to get into doing collaborations. So I'm a really big fan of businesses collaborating together, especially your smaller to medium-sized businesses. So you could have, I don't know, a restaurant and a hotel doing a collaboration together where they both come up with a prize package, or something small, don't even need to have a prize package, but you basically are advertising to each other's databases, and that's just really comes across as genuine. People love to support that sort of thing. Or it could be a hairdresser and a beautician and a movie theater for a date night. You can kind of do some really cool little collabs, and that exposes your brand and your company to other people who are probably similar and would be most likely like to join your community. So it's my easiest, fastest, and kind of most genuine way that I can say, other than saying, put $50 on a Facebook post. Like, that's doing a collab is way more effective.
Yep. So why do you think social media is important for a business?
I think for two reasons. One is it's where your community is. Like, unfortunately, no matter, so there's a lot of sort of cancel culture, and people, every single second article I seem to read seems to be blaming social media for something. It's actually like where people are. It's where they spend their time. It's overtaken all other traditional mediums last year. So there's more people on social media every day than are watching TV. It's literally where people are hanging out, and they're spending way more time and they're more engaging on there than they are. And to be honest, even if they're watching TV, they're still on their phones. So you need to be where your customers and your community is. So you need to be on social media for that reason, just to be connected.
So let's just say that, well, it's true. There's small business owners or small businesses, sometimes like yourself in 2010, it was just yourself, or they might have one other person or a 0.5 or someone who just does a little bit of help. But we've got all of these different social media platforms. We've got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We've got what haven't I said? TikTok, Clubhouse.
Yeah, Clubhouse. It's a good one. WeChat, Line.
WeChat.
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah, there's so
New Zealand,
many
we don't have too many, which is good.
Yeah,
comparatively. Reddit,
sort of,
everything.
We got the main four, I suppose, or 4 or 5 that. But what would be your suggestion for a business who's a little bit time poor, so they're out there doing the work all the time and they need to focus? Should they focus on one platform like an Insta or a Facebook or whatever, or should they try and spread it across as many platforms as they possibly can?
I think the biggest thing is to be tied into your community and where are your community. So right now, for example, we're seeing a lot of people over the last year, they've moved from Instagram. They're on Instagram a little bit, but they're really picking up onto TikTok. So we're getting our clients to move with them. So it's a matter of being tied into where your community is. I do recommend, just from a purely practical point of view, wouldn't recommend this it's completely not best practice and big brands should not do it, but for smaller brands, it just makes sense. Like if you've got one piece of content, like do the connection up and just post to the other platforms. Like I do it for my personal content. If I do something on Instagram, I just automatically have it post to Facebook for my community on there. And it's really obvious, but at the end of the day, I'm time poor. So it's it's better to do it than not do it. So you've just got to make that call.
Are you familiar or aware of any tools that a small business owner or anyone could use that could spread it across multiple platforms that will make it easier? And that's inclusive of doing the @ and the hashtags and things like that as well. Because if, like, as an example of what you said just then, if you go into Facebook business and you post in both Insta and thing, and then you have a whole bunch of @ that you want to, when I say @ it's like when you're trying to tag a business or a sponsor or something like that, the tag on Insta is different than what the tag is on.
Oh, so annoying. Yeah.
It's very annoying. And there's no, I don't know, the way I do it anyway, I have to manually do it all the time. Well, actually, I copy and paste and then change it a little bit, and then the tag happens. But is there any platform that works that can do that for you?
I don't know, actually. I'd have to ask my team. But actually, my team might not know because they do craft, because we work with tend to be larger companies, they craft for each platform, but I can find out for you. That would be a great tool. What I tend to personally do is I'll do it on Insta, just push it through, and then I'll go in and edit. And from a real practical point of view. And then I copy and paste into LinkedIn. And then I edit. Yeah. It's definitely not efficient. It is not efficient. There must be a tool out there. It will ask.
Yeah. And it surprises me that Facebook or Meta hasn't got a tool where you could save your @ or your tags, and then you just click a little button and then it brings up, because you could do that with audiences. So why can't you do that with your tags?
Probably on their roadmap. But it's a really good point. I mean, who knows? Like maybe your Hootsuite or one of those could do it. I'm not sure. I have to ask.
So Mark Zuckerberg, I know you're probably listening to this, so if you could just fix that up for us, that would be cool.
You could fix that, it'd be great.
Yeah, that'll make things a lot easier for us. So what do you think are some of the ingredients you need to develop a good social media marketing strategy?
Probably the most important thing is to just be super authentic and genuine, and just really have a strong view of who you are. And I kind of call it, I love the expression, strong opinions held lightly. Have a strong point of view, but hold it lightly. Be prepared to be challenged and have good conversations, because those are the best conversations, when you sort of start out with a strong opinion, but then you can actually have a genuine conversation with people. So it's all about being genuine, being honest, and just actually the biggest thing is just being excited about what you do and letting that passion come through. Because if you are really like, oh my God, this is so cool, people feed off that, and you'll just find people just flock to you. It's a bit of magic that happens in that. And you see that happening, whether it's Giaco with his ice cream, or Elon Musk with his whatever he's doing at the moment, rocket ships. Like, you can sort of see people love, and people are attracted to people who are really passionate about something, or Catherine with her shoes. She's just like, I'm not saving lives. I just like to make people happy with shoes. And we're like, that makes you awesome.
Organic sort of, so when I talk about organic social media in the social media space, it means that it's organically or the
for
content,
free.
basically for free. Someone's going to see your information, but on Facebook and Instagram, it's pretty much disappeared. TikTok, it's pretty good. LinkedIn's actually still pretty solid, but it does, it does change. So let's say if our audience's community or their followers are on Facebook, do you know of a good tactic or a tactic that would be good to help grow a community?
Yeah, well, collabs, like I mentioned before, is one really good way. The other way that does work quite well is one thing I would be doing right now, if you had a really quite strong Facebook and Instagram community and you were kind of just sort of worried about organic reach, which you should be, because when I started 11 years ago, it was 100%. Then it went to, it kind of like dropped to 6. Honestly, it went 64, 32, 16, 8, and now it's about 2 over the 10 years. So it really, so it's a pathway to 0. I would be trying to get people's email addresses with whatever, by hook or by crook, so that you actually had your own database and that you owned yourself of people. So I would be using competitions, mechanics, just so that when things change, you've got a bit more of a way to get through to them. And as you know, in the back of Business Manager, you can then upload them as a custom audience, which is much more cost effective. If you are going to spend, $100, you know that you're reaching people who really care rather than kind of going more late. So I would be investing in updating my customer, my community databases. But competitions are a good way to get sort of free reach, as our collabs. Oh, and ambassadors, so influencers, working with influencers. Though that isn't free, they will charge you.
Yeah.
But you might have a friend who's like really famous. That's really handy. If you've got like a friend or a mate who's like, can you put it out in my things? Or I know that like some other people who've got really good following, like make a point of helping small businesses by doing shout outs. And I know, for example, Cecilia and James Robinson, who had My Food Bag and Now Home Tend, they do that, I think once a week or once a month. So if you message them, they'll do a little shout out and buy your product and talk about it, which is pretty cool. So get into that.
So if our audience is looking at an influencer, let's say, what should they be, and they're trying to find their own ones, what should they be looking at? Is it 1,000 followers, 10,000 followers, 1 million? And what sort of roughly, like ballpark, what would be the cost to do some sort of campaign with an influencer?
Oh, it can really range. You've got the Kardashians at, millions, down to, you might be able to get someone who's like a nano influencer or something for under $1,000. But to be fair, in New Zealand, influencers are very expensive compared to the rest of the world, unfortunately. It's still very cost effective in general if you've got something you really want to sell, but our prices are very high compared to internationally. But what I would be doing is going out as a small business owner and saying, is you want to look at who their audience is and what they talk about. So if your brand fits in with what they talk about, like if you're in the tourism space and they're a travel influencer, then it's like perfect that they come in, do a bit of a contra and maybe a few $100s as well on top would possibly work. But you do have to remember that at the end of the day, this is their job and they can't eat lipstick. So you have to be prepared to pay them. And the only one cases where that's slightly different is if they've actually got, like, if they're more of a celebrity, and celebrities, they've got other jobs. They don't make money. They make a little bit of money through their celebrity, but they've actually got their main job. But if you're actually paying an influencer to be an influencer, they're incredibly professional. They're amazing, but you have to pay for it. But the return on investment's pretty genius, really. Like, we've done some work with like selling. What we're selling was so much fun. For Karcher, like selling window cleaners, the best things. Don't ask. They're actually amazing. My husband's really into cleaning windows, and I ended up getting him one because I was like, this. I totally fell for my own marketing.
Well done.
It was like, and he's like the best Father's Day present you've ever given me. I'm like, okay, it's a little bit like giving you a vacuum cleaner, but that's fine. So yeah, they really do in terms of like cost of what was invested in that compared to the amount of sales made. Just incredible.
So if I'm going to dig into a little bit about the influencer. So if let's say I spend $1,000 on an influencer to do 1 or 2 posts on, let's say, can I use that over and over again, or is it sort of I can use it once and then that's sort of like the license for it is for that time period? Or do you think I could rehash it in January if I do something in January because I want to get rid of some stock that I didn't sell in Christmas, for example?
Yeah.
And then I go, actually, I want to reuse that in May and I want to do it in September as well. Or do you?
So you need to negotiate that up front.
Okay.
So this is where buying the social club was a fantastic investment for Socialites because of all the legal that comes around this. Imagine it's a talent contract. So you'd negotiate up front. You could say, okay, I want to use it now and pay you $1,000. If I reuse it again in January, let's agree on I want to pay you 200. They say 600. You agree on 400. Okay, if I use it again, I'll pay you 400.
Yep.
Reuse it. But ideally, the standard is a 3-month right of use. Just FYI, everybody.
Yeah.
And anything over 3 months is not up for negotiation. The other thing to be aware of is whether you want them to be exclusive to your category or not. So, are they the only restaurant that they're going to talk about for the next 3 months? Probably not. So you're not going to have a good chance of being exclusive on that. But if you, for example, sold, I don't know, a brand of health supplements and you didn't want them to talk about another one for 2 months, you'll just have to pay more for that. Just remembering that's how they make their money.
Yeah, exclusivity over X amount of period of time for this. I saw How to Dad's got his own jandle. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I did, yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah, and it's got the little bread tag on the bottom already. It's quite cool.
Yeah, and we're going to see a lot more of that. Like influencers basically they are a marketing channel. If they come up with their own products, they can sell them because they are a channel. Yeah, if you look at Kardashians through to How to Dad, it's definitely the way the world is going. So collab with an influencer, another good strategy.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's collab with an influencer. Can you give us an example of a influencer who's done a post or some sort of small campaign for someone and the results that they got from it? Just anecdotally, like they might have sold 1,000 units of this because X person put up 3 posts or something like that.
Yeah, oh gosh, we did one. Okay, this is random, but I can talk about it. One of our clients is You by Kotex, which is like feminine, and we were doing feminine hygiene products, and these really cool new. This is really awkward talking to you about this, Craig, but the new period undies, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so basically period undies, which are really cool, and launched those to market. And we did an influencer campaign. It was really epic. We had her name was Jess, she's awesome, like female tradie down in Queenstown, which is really cool. We had just these epic group of wahine who were just very cool, and they're just talking about demystifying periods and how it all worked and how there were these cool undies, and they it was incredible. They just launched and they went to #1 in their category in 30 days, and that's all they did. So absolutely smashed all expectations, and I know I can talk about that one because we just won they've just won some big awards for that. So I was like, that's right. That was a good one. Yeah, completely influenced it. That was amazing.
Awesome. So I want to look at a specific sort of example here, and I spoke about pot plants, and I've spoke about cafes a lot in some other podcasts. So I'll stick to the cafes because I feel that it's a low-hanging fruit. I go to a lot of cafes, drink a lot of coffee. So let's say there are a lot of cafes and they all produce coffee or tea and food. Let's say if a cafe had $100 a week to spend on social media targeted campaigns, like a targeted campaign, what platform would you suggest that they focus on, and what tactic should they implement?
So I would do geo-targeted Facebook and Instagram posts, like just around the area, because most people, unless it's a destination cafe, but most of them aren't. So you're just targeting people in that area, or it's a waste. And then from a tactic, and that's the safe way to do. Like that's safe. From a not quite as safe but more fun, what I would actually do is pay influencers to come in and post, like pay them the $100, come in and get a coffee and do a post and have a series of them. So these two sort of tactics there.
Cool.
Safe,
So
not quite so safe. Oh, sorry, easy, takes more work to organize.
So for any small business owners out there who don't know what geo-targeting is, so that is like if you put a dot on if you're looking at a map from a satellite point of view, you put a dot on your cafe, and then you can put a geo-target, which could be 5 kilometer radius around your cafe, and that's like a geo-targeted. So that's targeted a geographical area around your cafe, and then you're saying get a influencer to come in and drink coffee. So
and post about it. Yep.
And post about it, yeah. Or you could say, hey, look, XYZ person, I know you love coffee. You're reasonably well known. I'll give you free coffee and free food. And all you got to do is flick a Insta post once a week, and then away you go.
Exactly.
Cool. There's a good tactic for all the cafes out there. There you go.
We're going to have all these like coffeeed up influencers running around. I love it.
Well, it could be kombucha, it could be whatever it is, so long as they get some awareness about the cool factor of the cafe, or that it's slightly different to the other one. So instead of going to ABC Cafe, you're going to go to 123 Cafe just because you've seen them and they're targeted. Because I go to cafe, I physically do it on purpose to see if I'm getting targeted in a new location to go and find a cafe, and I never am. Auckland's Auckland's good at it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. The other thing to be really aware of if I was a cafe is have something Instagrammable at your. In fact, this kind of applies to any business, but you need something cool and parties and events. You'd know this. You're an event. Like you need your Instagram wall, right? You need your something for people, like something. It's like when you're doing, I don't know, interior design. There's always like one feature that you build everything around, and it's the same with any venue or place or any event. You need like something that people will take a photo of and go wow, and gives them social currency on the old internet. So having something cool, whether it's, I don't know, a cat or a cool entrance or a flower wall or a cool light, like it doesn't matter what it is, just something Instagrammable.
Very good. That is a good tactic as well. So we sort of spoke about this before, but I'm going to ask it more specifically now. So a small business got no budget at all, zero, nothing, but they've got all of these social platforms out there. What would you suggest that they do? Zero budget.
So zero budget.
Apart from time.
That is fine. I would be doing the collabs.
Yep.
I would be doing the competitions to get people's email addresses, and I would be collecting those like crazy. And then from a real practical point of view, I would just be doing really regular content, because at the end of the day, people do search for businesses on social. So if people stumble across you, you don't want to just be dead because you look dead. So pay attention, make sure that your Google business is up to date. Make sure you've got regular content, even if it's only like once a week, so people know that you're alive when they go and check you out. Because if you're not posting about yourself, other people will be posting about you, and people might see that. You might see your handle, go in and look, and at least they can see that you're there. And they're not going to look at the likes. They don't really care about that, but they just want to, oh yeah, that's what it looks like. So think of it as your, I would still just keep it up, be consistent. Do competitions and collabs.
Competition and collabs, it seems to be a common theme. So if you could crystal ball gaze, where do you see social media going in the next sort of 5 years?
Oh, this is where we get to talk about the Metaverse and Web3. So that's which is always entertaining. So how I explain this to my clients is, because I don't think we've got enough time to get into all of that. But if we think about, we're in Web 2 now, which is basically social media, and if we're going into Web 3, which is all decentralized, I think of it from a practical point of view as, for a grocery client of mine, you're in an avatar, you're walking down you've got a virtual kind of headset on, you're going to do your supermarket shop, you're walking down the supermarket aisle, you've got your favorite chef suggesting recipes and chucking products into your supermarket trolley as you go. You get to the end and it's all rung up and the e-commerce is all fully integrated, and then the food just turns up all packaged into the meals that you want to make at your home. So it's that real full integration e-commerce, but visual and just cool. So it's not it's taking that massive big step from right now we use social media like we use offline. Web3 is actually, in the metaverse, is designing it for a virtual world. So in the virtual world, all the fun things are happening. So it's going to be fun. Yeah, that's kind of from a practical point of view. Does that answer the question? I'm not good if I need more practice in answering this one, because I know too much about it, and it's trying to simplify it down for people is my job to do.
That's a good example, and I think the same is going to be for events, as like physical events. There will be some people who turn up physically, which is fine, but the people who are time poor, or they just can't get there, they're from another country, you can physically be there and you'll feel like you're there. You'll be able to talk to the person next to you. You'll be able to get the same level of value from not being physically there, but being there in the metaverse, which is cool. What I will do is I'll link in the show notes the video from Mark Zuckerberg about Meta and their move and what they're planning on doing over the next into the future, and an example and the reason why they changed their name to Meta. It's really cool. And some of the things that you turn up to a meeting and you could be wearing your Superman outfit or whatever that might be, but it's a virtual meeting. It's really cool. It's
taking filters to the next level. I think the great thing is, because we're at the sort of real beginning area of it, it is just everything that we're doing. If you think about, 20 years ago, and we used to put like the DOS and the utilities things to get your computer to go, and it was so slow and you couldn't be on the internet if the phone was on. It's like we're at that stage now with Meta. So for now to get the Snapchat filter of your face, it's going to be just, you're going to own, your own avatar. And that's why this, NFTs have got so huge. It's hilarious. I think that is a bit of a bubble, some of them, but where the real power is the sort of like blockchain contracts, and that's the sort of decentralized ways of having contracts with people, and that's really interesting. So, for example, you could, buy something from a company, and like an NFT, and in that contract, that means that you get the first pair of Air Jordans as it comes out every year, forever, while you own it. So, sort of this, I think, for companies are going to find quite different ways to use it than what's happening at the moment. Really, really interesting space. Love it. I'm so excited about it. I'm definitely going to be making NFTs next year. So it's going to be fun.
NFTs, I follow Gary Vaynerchuk a lot. Actually, probably too much.
He talks about it a lot.
He talks about it a lot. He pre-sold 1.2 million copies of his new book, 12 and a half. He's got his V-Friends, which is so an NFT is a non-fungible token. So I'll link that. I'm not even going to try and explain what that is.
No, I don't even. Yeah. Well, if you just say the V-Friends from his point of view, it's an avatar, really. It's a little character with benefits attached. That's how I think about it. It's a character with benefits attached.
Yeah. So if you bought Empathy Elephant, I think one of them's called, then you could go to VCon, which is his conference. So that's some of the value from it, and he is going to try and ensure that when you bought it for, let's say, $1,000 US, it's going to be worth $10,000 US in 2 years' time. So there's value. Another way of looking at what an NFT is, that if we're going into the metaverse, and I was talking about putting on a Superman outfit, you'd have to pay for that Superman outfit, and that's like a non-fungible token that you've actually paid for this headset that you're going to be wearing in the metaverse as well.
Yeah, there's a bit of, what do they call it? He calls it it's like flex, a bit of social flex to have the cool stuff.
Yeah, so
it's like, so I have a fake thing in my fake world, but then saying that, there's companies buying airports and property in a fake world. Like, it's just it's such an interesting space, and I love it, because to me, Socialites, I started because I fell in love with communities and building communities online, and Meta is like, the metaverse is literally communities online blowing up. So that's why I'm spending all my time right now, and I'm probably not spending as much time on my business, but that's right. I've got an amazing co-CEO, because I'm just so excited about this space, because to me, this is the future, and it's going to happen slowly but rapidly in terms of the rest of the world. That'll be a true. Like, when my clients are like, can we have a 3-year social media plan? I'm like, no. Absolutely not. I can give you some rough guidelines.
Well, one of the platforms could be gone. Like Facebook could just disappear, or Insta could disappear.
Would not be surprised.
Yeah.
They do it all the time. It's really interesting. And I also, if you look at what's happening in the Asia platforms, in terms of the full integrations, the Alibabas and WeChats and things like that with the e-commerce, we don't have that yet properly. So that's social selling. We're just starting to get into that now, like so social live selling, which is huge. And I think that'll get good first. That'll be next year's big thing, like social, actual proper integrated social selling, like they do in the Asia countries. So that's going to be big too.
Cool. So I've got 2 more questions to ask. This has been a cool chat. So what would be your single most valuable piece of advice for a business regarding social media?
Oh, my number one thing is always just be authentic. Lean into your community. Be brave. But it's all around that sort of, it's like bringing the right mindset, because it's actually all about mindset. People will forgive a lot as long as you're truthful with them. You can really stuff up, but if you're like, I stuffed up, you'll actually be supported for that. Whereas if you kind of try and sweep stuff under the rug, it doesn't work.
To be authentic. Cool. Last question, and it's more about you, and I think I might have a bit of an idea what your answer might be. What sort of content do you consume, like your favorite podcast or social media page or group, or what are you reading? What do you do as to your bit of this?
Yeah, I have so much fun. So at the moment, my go-tos when people ask me this is always I always love like My First Million, which is a great one, and Masters of Scale. So they're just really interesting areas.
First Million. I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's like Sam from The Hustle. I don't know if you get every morning I get the Hustle email, and it's one that I read every morning. I do get a lot of I read Forbes, New York Times, sort of all those sort of ones, but these entrepreneur ones are really fun. Hustle's great. And as I said, I just reread The Infinity Game again, which is just a really good once a year reminder, I think, which is the Simon Sinek book. And it's just about, especially if you're an entrepreneur, thinking of your business as more than almost like reworking your language of, it's not like a fight or a win or a game. It's actually just a game. So it's like playing a game against yourself rather than trying to have a war against your competitors. And it's just a different mindset, and it's just more in tune with the way the world is, and way more fun, because at the end of the day, life is a game, really. It's like so I say to my team, it's like, be like, what's going to happen tomorrow? No idea. Look, we've just gone through a global pandemic. No one saw that coming. So
what's next?
Like, let's just, and so you can have all the plans in the world, but if your foundation is not solid, the world will come and like break your plan. Whereas if your foundation is solid and you know who you are and what you stand for, then everything else, just the world kind of works for you.
Wendy, this has been an awesome chat. I really appreciate this. It's been super fun, and I know we've got a lot of value to our audience for this one, and I appreciate your time. You're a very busy person, and we've been chatting for 50 minutes, which is awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, and catch up with you very, very soon. Thank you again.
Kia ora, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.